Thank you for listening to the Sales Maven Show. I'm your host, Nikki Rausch, your own personal sales maven, here to offer you tips and strategies and techniques to master your sales conversations. Today is part of the Mastering Excellence series, and that means I have brought a guest on for you that is getting exceptional results in some area of her life and or business, and we're going to dig into that today. And I'm very excited to introduce you, if you haven't met yet, Andrea Liebross. Let me tell you a little bit about her. Andrea is a business coach and strategist for the CEO who has hit a success ceiling. She specializes in identifying the invisible structural flaws, the gaps in conviction and infrastructure that cause even the best strategies to fail. Author of the bestseller, She Thinks Big, and podcast by the same name, Andrea helps leaders stop outworking their doubt and start engineering scalable growth that doesn't require more of their hours. If you're tired of hitting the same revenue wall, head to andrealiebross.com/quiz to take the quiz that reveals exactly where your business is leaking time and profit, and maybe even belief, which leads to our topic today. We're going to talk about how Andrea bridges belief with strategy and the importance of how that shows up in your business. Andrea, welcome to the show.
Thanks for having me, Nikki.
I'm so excited to have this conversation with you. Before we dive in, beyond the bio, tell everybody a little bit about who you work with and the kind of work that you're doing in the world and anything else you want to share.
Yeah, thanks for having me. So I work with female business owners who live really across the world. Everything I do is virtual. We do put a little in person in there, but these women, like I coach them to help them grow their businesses. However, at the root of all of this, what I always go back to is you are a human, and we need to grow you in order to grow your business. So yes, we're here to grow the business. We're in the business of growing businesses and scaling and creating whatever you want that business to be, or get out of the business, whatever that looks like. But at the root of it all is you as the human. So I like to say everything is fair game. Life is fair game. Business is fair game. It's all intertwined. And if you're not showing up as your best self, there is no way that this business is going to grow, no matter what we do. So that's kind of where I come at things.
I love it. I love it so
Yeah.
much. All right. And we're going to talk today really about this idea of one of your superpowers truly is bridging belief with strategy. Tell me a little bit more about what that means to you and why that's important to be able to do that.
Well, I see so many women and so many business owners, and myself can be included in this, right? I am not immune to this. We really want a strategy, right? We want a strategy that's going to help us navigate getting three kids out the door and to soccer in three different parts of town. We want the strategy for that, right?
Yes.
We also want the strategy that's going to bring in more clients. We want the strategy that's going to simplify our back end of our business. But I really feel like my superpower could be defined as bridging that gap between belief and strategy. So you can only grow your business if you believe it can grow,
Mm,
or you can have the best strategy in the world, but you've got to believe that it's going to work. So, where this shows up a lot is women not fully stepping into what I call the CEO role, even if they don't feel like it yet. So, if you own a business, you're the CEO. I mean,
yeah.
most likely, right? You're in
Yeah.
charge.
Yeah.
And my clients usually come to me saying, that is the last thing I think I am.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I mean, I guess I'm the CEO, but that is not what I'm putting on my signature. And then why? So then I couldn't go into why. Why isn't that in your signature? Well, I mean, I don't know. CEOs, they're not the ones still standing on the ladders, or they're not the ones that are still doing all of these things. And then I kind of go to the place of, what do you believe a CEO should be doing?
Mm,
Okay, so then everybody has their picture of that.
yeah.
And then, okay, how do we get you to the place that that's what you're doing? Oh, I'm not sure that'll ever be me. Really? Well, guess what? If you don't think it's ever going to be you, it's not going to be you. So I like to say that belief is really has to be the infrastructure of your business,
Mm-hmm.
right? It has to be the thing that's guiding all of your strategy and all of your next steps. Because a strategic plan is really ineffective without the conviction to follow through on it.
Mm-hmm.
So
I love this.
yeah,
Okay.
there's that.
So the first question I usually ask in these interviews is if I was going to stand in for you for a day, lucky me, and I want to think like you, I want to behave like you, what what's my thought process when I'm starting to think about this idea of bridging belief and strategy? Like what comes to mind for you?
Well, I think usually people are coming to you, then come to a conversation with you and say, here's what's going on, right?
Yeah.
So they're giving you the backstory, the whole thing, right? So if you were me, the first thing is I really try to do is to help people simplify. Like we've got to get through what I sometimes call the messy middle. We've
Mhm.
got to get through the noise and really focus on what's happening underneath the surface. There's that whole theory of like seven whys, why? So you might be asking why with the intention of getting down to what's really going on. And the whole reason someone's doing something or not doing something is because they want to feel something or they don't want to feel something. And I think that's what we really have to get to. That's what you would be working to try to get to.
This is fantastic. So if I may, just to
Yeah.
comment to the audience here. So some of the stuff that I heard that you commented on, this idea of like first and foremost, it's about simplifying. So that's
Yep.
getting through the messy middle and what's happening below the surface. And really, it kind of comes down to these two key things. What do you want to feel, or what do you not want to feel?
Yeah. What do you want to feel and what do you not want to feel? And that's guiding all of your actions, right?
Mm-hmm.
So this kind of goes back to this belief infrastructure. So I like to picture um, you as the flame, right? So you're the thing in your business that's going to light it up, right? So
Yeah.
you're the energy in it, you're the ignition. Okay. So if you picture a bonfire and you've got that flame in the middle, well, what makes that flame go higher and higher and higher? It's the structure around it, right?
Mm-hmm.
So it's the wood planks around it. And that's really like what supports everything. So if you're not feeling like you can support that flame, the bonfire is not going to go too high. It's going to be pretty low, right? If you're feeling like, yeah, I got this, even though I might be scared a little bit, or even though this might be hard, whatever that is, in order to build up yourself or your business, we've got to build up those wooden planks. We've got to build up the structure around the bonfire. And that's going to help you get out of inertia or break through doubt or kind of spark some conviction that's going to create the momentum. So you would be, if you were me, you're trying to kind of unpack the layers
Mm-hmm.
and see what's not working, why the bonfire isn't higher, right? And then the next thing you'd really do is to really help build up that scaffolding underneath. So, yes, we need some very tactical things, 100%.
Because are
Okay.
you saying the scaffolding is part of the belief or is it
Yeah,
part
the
of the
scaffolding is
strategy?
really the belief, right?
Okay.
Like the scaffolding is the belief. It's like an infrastructure though for the bonfire. Like the bonfire can't happen unless we have that, right? And
Yeah.
and sometimes people say, Andrea, you're like an architect. So I am trying to like get things put together, or you're the general contractor. Yeah, what do we really need in order to get this bonfire higher? Right? Do we need to look at your finances? Do we need to look at your sales strategy? What do we need to look at? But you've got to believe that this fire can become bigger.
Mm-hmm. Okay. So this is a little off script for me, but I feel like I have to ask this question now.
Tell me.
So the question that comes up for me is when you're working with a client and you can tell that there is some lack of
Yeah.
belief, right? And
Yeah.
so you can't really like what do you do then? If she doesn't believe it, what do
Yep.
you do then?
Well, I think you've got to figure out then you got to two things. Number one, you can build what I call a belief bridge,
Mm,
which I'll explain to you what that is. But number two, and let's just start with number two, what do they think is possible? Right? That's going to help you get to what I call the next best step. Okay. So you've got to figure out where is your minimum baseline? Like what is possible? Okay. In your mind right now. And if we look at your priorities, if we look at your belief, right? And if we look at the facts, so I kind of say like A plus B plus C equals your next best step. Okay. So we can start there. Facts, belief, priorities equal next step. Now, if you want to go, elevate this, right? We have to build what I call is a belief bridge. Are you familiar with this at all? Are you
no,
taught?
I
Okay.
mean, in
Okay.
my mind, I feel like, oh, I know I can make sense of this, but I really just want to hear it from
Okay.
what
All
I
right.
want to hear from your
So,
mind. What does it
okay.
mean?
So I like to say, well, person out there, you might be floating down the river of misery right now. So there's a river, it's called the river of misery.
Oh,
Okay. And I know it's sad. And there's two banks of the river. There's the land of impossible on one side of the river, and then there's the land of possible on the other side of the river. And there's a little wooden bridge with planks that goes over the river. Okay, so whatever this idyllic little picture is. And each of those planks represents another step of the bridge that's going to get you from the land of impossible, which is on one side. Actually, I misspoke. The land of impossible on one side to the land of inevitable on the other
oh,
side. So there's
inevitable. Okay.
impossible and then there's inevitable. And in the middle is possible. At the little peak of the bridge, that's where possible happens. Okay. So each of these planks represents a thought, right? So you might have a thought, there is no way I am going to obtain 5 more clients this month.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Like it's impossible. There's just no way. All right. Next thought. Well, I do think that 1 is possible. So that's like the next step on the bridge. Next, then step 2 or plank 2, little wooden plank 2. If I put out more, and we can, is this ads? Is it emails? Is it made offers? Is it got in front of more people? Whatever that is. All right, maybe 2's possible. 2 new clients. Okay. All right. Then what's the next? So you've got to really go through your head and figure out what are the thoughts that need to happen in
Mm-hmm.
order for you to move from impossible to possible to inevitable.
Mm,
Right. So sometimes I use the analogy of like losing weight. Okay. There's no way I could lose 10 pounds before July 4th. Okay. But that's your an original thought. And the next thought is, well, I do control goes in my body. Okay. Next thought. There are some things that would be help me lose weight versus help me not lose weight.
mm-hmm.
I know what they are. They're accessible to me. I should just purchase those and put them in my refrigerator. Then I can stick to that. Also, I know exercise might help. So you're just like moving yourself
Mm-hmm.
through impossible to possible to inevitable. That's a belief bridge. And
Wow.
there's no zip line there's no zip line. Here's the bad news. No zip line from one riverbank to the other. Okay. But if you're floating down this river of misery, you can put on some life jackets. Okay. So that you don't drown.
Yes.
And, I like to say, who's going to support you in this? That could be a life jacket. Right.
Mm-hmm.
How can you figure out how to make this easier? that's a life jacket. Like, you're in charge of your destiny here, right? And you may need help getting across this belief bridge. You may need to put your life jacket on. You may need someone to throw you a rope, but you can do it. So there's this belief bridge, which is much more mindset based,
Mm-hmm.
right? And then there are literally the tactical next steps.
So here
And
comes
to
the strategy.
Yeah, so here
Yeah.
comes the strategy, right? So it's not like this is all just about manifesting, because that's not
Right.
me at all. In fact, most people would say I am like tough love with a smile, and I tell it like it is, and I'm pretty direct. But I do believe that the belief is a crucial part of this, and helping you grow that literally and figuratively is one of my superpowers.
This is fantastic. I love
Okay.
an analogy. I have such a clear picture in my head of these different planks. I love too that there's no zip line, right? It's like one
There's no
plank at
zip
a
line.
time. And
Yeah.
understanding that you can start with a belief and have some shifts, and they can happen, but it takes some work, right? To have
Yes.
these
Yes.
shifts in your thought process. And then once you start to make some shifts, that's where strategy comes in.
Right.
So this I love this. This makes so much sense to me. Okay, so my next
Okay.
question is this idea of like, what is the real goal behind bridging belief with strategy? When you think about this, either in your own business or when you're working with your clients, what would you say are and it could be more than one goal, but like the goals, like what are those?
Well, one goal is to, I would say, assess and probably increase your risk tolerance. Because I don't know about you, but I don't know anyone that's really, you know, has a bonanza business, right? That hasn't taken some risks. Yeah. I mean, there's some risks out there. And everybody always wants to go to, well, this is kind of like neuroscience, actually. You and I were chatting about that before we hit record.
Yeah.
There's something in our brain, like the motivational triad. We want things to be safe,
Hmm.
efficient, and enjoyable. That's, that's back to the cavemen. The cavemen wanted to be safe.
Yes.
They wanted to be there hunting and gathering and to be efficient, and they loved pleasure. Okay. So we're still wired like that.
Yeah.
And in intertwined in that is not really like, let's take some risks. Okay. So I think the ultimate goal here is to help you figure out where your risk tolerance is
Hmm.
and probably increase it. And then the other thing is to help you make clear, confident decisions, right? So part of the goal here is that you can move things along, both yourself as a human and the business, right? By making clear, confident decisions. So I do work a lot with my clients in helping them create some frameworks and filters around making clear, confident decisions. Because that's not always easy. And we always want to go back to, I want to make the right decision. Okay, I'm sure you've heard lots of people
Oh
say
yeah.
that.
Yeah,
And we say it
absolutely.
ourselves, right?
Yeah.
Usually there's a just in there. I just want to make the right decision.
Yes.
Okay. Or I want to be smart about this. Or I need to think about this a little bit before I move forward. Okay. So if someone says that, I always go to like, well, can I put my coach hat in for a minute? Sure. What exactly are you thinking about? I'm going to sleep on it. Okay. What exactly are you thinking about? No one has a great answer to that question, right? Because what's really going on, what they're really thinking about is that they're trying to become more comfortable with whatever decision they really, really want to make, right? They want to go for it, for example. Okay. But they're not sure if they have the funds,
Hmm.
or, but they don't know if they have the time. But, right, there's always the buts. And that's you trying to become more comfortable with the decision.
Hmm.
So if I can help my clients make clear, confident decisions And when I say increase your risk tolerance, I mean, we could talk about that on a very big scale, but being comfortable with being uncomfortable.
Mm-hmm.
Right. That's really what this risk tolerance thing is about. Like I sometimes I call it embracing the unknown or embracing uncertainty.
Mm-hmm.
And I wrote this book called She Thinks Big, and the name of my podcast is She Thinks Big. And so
Yeah.
sometimes people say, well, what is a big thinker, Andrea? And I use the word trust as an acronym, but the U in trust stands for embracing the unknown or uncertainty. Like you've got to get to the place where you're okay with that. You don't have to love it, but you got to be okay with it.
Which I think that speaks to you have to be able to increase your risk tolerance, right? To
Yes.
be,
Yes. So
to
it's
be,
all intertwined, right?
yeah, to be
Yeah.
uncomfortable, to be, yeah. And
Yeah.
so
And if
I,
you think about that bonfire too, it's like, should we put another layer of logs on there or is like
mhm,
the whole thing going to crumble? Right? Should we continue upward or not? Like that's a little risky too.
yeah. Okay. So just to speak here, some more
Yeah.
structure I think that came out here is when you think about the goals around bridging this idea of belief and strategy, it's about increasing risk tolerance. That's one. And
Yep.
two, it's about being able to make clear, confident decisions. And I think maybe I'm just in my own brain thinking like, okay, when I feel really confident and clear about my decisions, like even if there's risk involved, like there's like a level of excitement to just like
Yes.
taking this next step, right? Or like
Yes.
being willing to try something that feels new or uncomfortable or change.
Correct. You
Love
got it.
this. I
Yeah.
love
And I
this.
think that also, if I could throw something else in here,
Yeah,
which probably is
please.
helpful, um, I talk about this concept of stuck stress versus progress stress. Okay. So when we are in stuck stress, it feels really heavy, right? It feels heavy. You're stuck, literally. You're frustrated.
Hmm.
You ask yourself all of the what if questions that end in things that aren't great. What if this doesn't work?
Yes.
What if I don't have the funds? What if the revenue doesn't come in? What if the person I hire isn't the right person? Okay. So you're confused, you're frustrated, you're probably going around in circles, you're asking what if questions.
Hmm.
That's all stuck stress. You've got to shift into what I call progress stress because like the whole world is not rainbows and daisies here. So it's like you just said, okay, when you make that clear, confident decision, even though there might be some risk in it, you're excited.
Hmm.
Okay. So there's still some apprehension, there's a little stress and anxiety. But when you shift into this progress stress, you are moving quickly, you're moving forward. You're answering the what if questions with what if this works? What if this is the best decision I've ever made? What if I'm not only going to make $100, I'm going to make $1,000, right?
Yeah,
Like,
yeah, yeah.
so you start to create some momentum. You're fueling yourself with curiosity. Okay. And I am not going to tell you that like living on this planet is not stressful because it is.
Right.
Right. But if you can move forward with this progress stress, you're going to get a whole lot further. And in my book, there's this whole diagram of stuck stress and progress stress. And it kind of shows like the stuck stress is all these like kind of like a ball of yarn all tangled up. And the
Yeah.
progress stress is not a straight line and nor is it like an arrow upwards, diagonally upwards, right? It's a little wavy. They always say like entrepreneurship is like a roller coaster. It is,
Yeah.
but you're moving. You've got some movement.
This is so fantastic. I haven't heard anybody talk about this stuck stress versus progress stress and to be able to identify where you are. And so when I'll just say this to me, like when I find myself in this place of it feels heavy, I'm frustrated, to have this new term to say, Nikki, this is excuse me, this is stuck stress. Like
Yeah,
that is
it's just
so
like, oh,
helpful.
right. So, going back to one of your original questions, if you were me, a lot of times I'm just helping my clients identify, okay, are we in stuck stress here or are we in progress stress? And usually they're in stuck stress,
Yeah.
but we can shift it. to progress stress. I'll give you an example. Um, okay, I have a client. She owns several salons. Okay, so she's a salon owner, multiple locations, and she wants to add an additional location on. And this property became available in different neighboring town where the people that live in that town, it's more renters. It's a little more transient. It's a little more like urban. And her other salons are in much more established suburbs.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. But this location is like turnkey. It's already built out as a salon. Okay. So there's not a lot of build out that needs to happen. There's not going to be a lot of upfront money that needs to go in there. And but she's like, yeah, but I don't know. Right. So I said to her, what if your next location is totally different than the other two? What if the clientele are maybe a younger, more apartment dweller type clientele? What's so wrong with that? And isn't it great that you don't have to put in all of this money to do a build out? Because in the past salon, she's had to put in a lot of money to build out. I said, I think you should go check it out. I think maybe you should go for this. And so all of a sudden, her stuck stress of, should I even go look at it? Or I'm not sure this is the right town, or just sort of like swirling, shifted into progress stress. Okay. And she kind of said to me I use Voxer a lot.
Me
She's
too.
like,
I love Voxer.
okay, Voxer, I use Voxer a lot. So we're kind of almost having a real time conversation
Yeah.
in this
Yeah.
with maybe like 5 minutes in between as I empty my dishwasher, or whatever's going
Yep.
on. Right.
Yep.
She said, I feel like you just gave me permission to actually explore at a deeper level this opportunity. And I said, yeah. She's like, it still seems a little scary, but I'm going to go check it out. And so she did go. And actually, last night, she checked out the property and messaged me this morning. How was it? She's like, well, it's not the space for me. She's like, the space didn't feel right, but I'm so glad I went and looked at it, because now I have this whole other perspective on maybe what this next location is going to look like. So she's definitely shifted out of that progress stress, or sorry, out of stuck stress into
Yeah.
progress stress. And she shifted her belief that all these locations have to look and feel the same. Because she really was believing for a minute that they all had to kind of be the same exact type of client. And now she's like, no, they don't. They don't need to be the same exact type client. Maybe it's great that it's going to be different.
Yeah.
So that's kind of an example.
I think that is so powerful. And like, I feel like I can feel this in my body as you're like explaining this idea.
Yeah.
Like, I know what the difference is, what it feels like to be in
Mm-hmm.
stuck stress versus in this progress stress.
Yep.
And that is just incredibly helpful. And to have somebody like you who can help somebody identify that and then make that shift, like such a powerful, incredibly helpful guide in those
Yeah.
moments.
And
So,
you get good at it. Like, you get better at it.
yeah,
It's almost like a skill, right? And then my clients start to be able to identify, like, oh, yeah, that. They don't stay in that stuck stress for
right.
nearly as long.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Which is freedom. Like that's what comes to mind for me is like
Yes.
there's
Which is
freedom
freedom.
in that.
And I say, I don't know if you've talked about this, but I say there's our four most valuable resources are freedom of time, money, people, and energy. Right. So we
Mhm.
want freedom in all of those categories.
Yeah.
And if we can create that for ourselves by increasing our belief, increasing our risk tolerance, making clear, confident decisions, shifting out of the stuck stress into progress stress, um, we go places.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So good. All right. So I usually like one of my last questions just in these NLP questions to be, so how do you know when you've achieved the goal that you're bridging your belief with strategy and it's time to stop?
Interesting. Okay. So time to stop moving, like time to stop on this pursuit. Is that what you mean? Or
Not
time to
necessarily.
stop?
Well, I want you to add the meaning to it. That's
Okay.
kind of the
Okay.
so whatever comes to mind is perfect for you.
Okay.
Like,
Okay. So I think there's two things that come to mind. number one, for someone, like two personas, if someone's like, okay, it's time to stop moving forward on this initiative, I'll call it, right? Like this
Uh-huh.
is no longer a good idea,
Okay.
or this no longer, I really don't think this is going to work. My belief is it's not going to work.
Yeah, like your
Then
example of your client last night,
yeah,
right?
yeah, that's a good example.
Yeah.
Yes,
Okay.
perfect. All right. So
Perfect.
she's she's going to have another location. That's not our question here. It's just
Right.
like, what's it going to be? Okay. Perfect example. So I call that like the loop de loops. Okay. So,
Okay.
so picture, um, like you're doodling and your pencil's like making one loop, and then you make a bigger loop, and then you make the next loop. Okay. So it's just one cycle or one loop in the process, in our pathway of life, in our business trajectory. Okay. So, and actually each of those loops includes a couple different elements. They all have the same different elements. You start out with the belief, you take some action, you make a plan, you take some action, and then you assess. Right? So you start out with some belief, you make a plan, you take some action, and then you assess. And each of these things is just like the next loop. It's just the next loop. Okay.
Yeah.
And that assessing or tweaking or honing what you're doing is your time, is a signal like ready for the next loop. I'm going to stop this one and I'm ready for the next one. So there's that sense of it. And I think that's healthy,
Yeah.
right? And I call that like a high value cycle. When you know it's time to stop, like the cycle is not necessarily over, but it needs to change.
Mm-hmm.
So sometimes I picture this as a clock too. It's like you started at 12. At 1 o'clock, you're like, all right, I'm going to move forward. At 4 o'clock, you've got your plan. At 6 o'clock, you put it into action. At 9 o'clock, you start to assess. 11 o'clock, you tweak it, you hone it, you shift a little, and then you're up at 12 again and you go again, and it might look a little different.
Mm-hmm.
Right. But they're high value cycles versus low value cycles. Low value is like you throw it out the window and you say, forget it. And you go all the way back to zero. So I don't think we ever should really go all the way back to zero. We're either learning or winning, I call it, right?
Love that.
So there's that piece of it. Then the other thing that popped into my mind is there comes a point where maybe this business, this relationship, this era is ready to come to a close, right? And I call it like you have lived out the life of the relationship or the life of the business. And that's okay.
Mm-hmm.
That's okay. It just means that you're ready for something else, right? So
This
it's
is
kind of the
fantastic.
same loop de loops,
Yeah.
but instead of your business going through this, it's you.
Yeah.
And that happens to everybody. I mean, even um, my daughter, I have two kids. My youngest one graduated from university this weekend. And
Congratulations.
thank you. So I sat there in the audience looking out, and I'm not very emotional, but a tear did come to my eye because I was like, oh, it's the end of an era,
Mm-hmm.
right? It's just the end of an era. Like, no one's in school. I have two employed children who are living on their own, right? Or soon to be.
Yeah.
So, like, my belief didn't change there, right? Like, my belief in them didn't change, but my belief a little bit on like what my role in it kind of
Mm-hmm.
did is changing.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah. I love
anyway,
this. This is so great. Okay.
yeah,
Thank you so much for taking this time. Before I wrap up, I usually like to ask some more like I call it the little something extra
yeah,
section.
ask me the little somethings. Let's do it.
Okay. So, just so the audience can get to know you a little bit more, and for me too, I find you
Yeah,
fascinating already. I have to say, I in no way could anticipate what your answers were going to be. And it was so fun because you were just like, every time you had an answer to something, I was like, oh, that's so good. So I just wanted to say that. Um,
thank you.
all right. So, my question for you is what brings you pleasure or joy right now?
Oh, well, I played golf, so it's golf season.
Okay.
And I'm getting good. We joke, this is the year. This is the year.
This is it. Okay.
So that actually does bring me a lot of pleasure. I mean, I love being outside. I feel like I can solve all the world's problems on the golf course with the people I'm playing with. We have some great conversations and it's a good skill. Anyway, so there's that. That's bringing me joy.
I love
And I
that.
think actually really kind of thinking about this next like era of my life
Yeah.
is I'm excited about it. And what's ahead, we'll call it. So
Good.
I feel like we've been empty nesters here for a little while because they're, kids have been in college or whatever. But, you know, we
Good.
can we can do whatever we want.
Freedom. Freedom, right?
Freedom. Yeah.
All right. How about what's something exciting going on in your business right now?
Ooh, that is good. I am refining and fine tuning my offers. So I've been at this for 8 years and there's been lots of variations of my offers, right? I'm sure like everybody.
Yeah.
Um, but I'm very excited for what will be rolling out in the next month or so. They're tweaks, same,
Mm-hmm.
same structure in general, but I really feel like I'm going to be able to serve two different people at two different places and stages of their business. So it's not
Fantastic.
really, I think this is the other thing is I think I've finally hit upon when people say, describe your ideal client.
Mm-hmm.
And a lot of times they go to revenue, right? Like but because I'm industry agnostic, like I've got people that are in all sorts of industries, revenue sometimes isn't the best indicator of who needs what.
Yeah.
It's more about where they're at in their thinking or where they're at in um, what they want next for themselves in their business. And I think I've kind of gotten that down. So I'm excited to share.
That's fantastic. All right.
Yeah.
Last question is for somebody listening right now who wants a little more Andrea in their life, what are the
Yeah.
best ways to connect with you?
The best ways, well, I have 270 something podcast episodes out there. So you can
Mm-hmm.
go listen to those. My podcast is called She Thinks Big. Or get yourself a copy or listen, Kindle, hard copy of my book, She Thinks Big.
Yeah.
But on a daily basis, you can find me on LinkedIn and Instagram, and I'd be happy to chat. Send me a message. Tell me you heard me on Nikki's podcast. And last way, if you're kind of curious, like what's getting in your way, if you're curious about this stuck stress and this progress stress and how to shift, go over to my website, andrealiebross.com/quiz, and take the quiz. And I sort of reveal what I call the silent saboteur. So, like, what's sabotaging you, but kind of silently? Because a lot of what we talked about today is not overt, right?
Right.
It's not it isn't really showing up sometimes. I mean, I guess this is in data. I mean, it is showing up in data if we dig deep, but it, it's not always the easiest thing to put your finger on.
Yeah.
But I think it is so necessary. Like what you do, so necessary. People, I mean, they've got to perfect those skills. And I feel like this is just the anecdote to that, like they're together. What
Yes,
I
for
do
sure.
and what you do are very much aligned, just different pieces of the puzzle.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, thank you so much for saying yes. And I learned so much from you today. I know that the listener is going to feel the same. And I'm very grateful that you said yes and that you shared so openly on the podcast. So thank you.
Thanks for having me.
Yeah. And for you, the listener, as always, thank you so much for being here. And please share. What was your takeaway? What was your big takeaway from this episode? For me, there were so many great ones, but I'll say this stuck stress and progress stress blew my mind. So I want to hear from you. What was yours? All right. And I am wishing you continued success in all you're doing. And thank you so much for listening. Have a great rest of your day.